So I thought I'd do a quick video of the fish and plants in the 125-gallon low-tech Dirt Planet tank. So in this back corner here I have anacaris, and I have it going all the way across the back wall as a curtain to cover the blank back wall. I know anacaris most people consider it a weed, but I like the look of it, and I decided to put it on the back wall because the last plant I had that covered the back wall was the jungle val, and I found the jungle val, being that it's spread by runners, it just started taking over everywhere, and I couldn't really control where it went. So with the anacaris I'll definitely be able to control where it grows. And I think it's a plant that doesn't really start looking ratty as it gets tall. Some stem plants will start looking ratty the taller they get, and anacaris doesn't. Plus it's a nice fast grower, so it will fill in the back, which I like. I have some Crypt Windy there, which is a nice fast grower, especially in my Dirt tank. I started out with about 4 plants, and now it's starting to fill in again. Here I have some Rotella indica, I believe it is. I don't care much for that plant. It's this plant right there. I don't care too much for that plant, but I had a couple pieces of it, so I decided I might as well leave it in there, and it's actually growing in really nice now. This plant here, which is full of blackbeard algae unfortunately right now, is Blixa auberti, and I've had it reaching the top of the tank before. Now it's not nearly as tall, because it's a plant that does not like to be moved, and when I moved it, it melted away. It always melts away every time I touch it, but it's finally starting to grow back in, and it's getting nice and thick again, so that's nice. Here, right there, I have some moneywort, and I actually have 2 different types of moneywort in there, one bigger plant with the bigger leaves and one smaller one, but the bigger one's really taking over. Right here is Ludwigia repens, which is another one of the plants that I really like, and I really like it because it's a very easy plant to grow, and mostly I like it. It was one of the very first plants I've gotten, and it's just always been with me, so I like that plant. And it's really pretty, and it gets nice red bottoms. Right now the light isn't too good. It can get red tops, but my lights are getting too old for that. And that plant there, which the camera's not good enough to really see too good, but right there you can see that's Ludwigia brevipes, which is a plant that also can get really red, but it's really green right now under my lights. And I like that plant okay. It starts to look ratty if I don't trim it down a lot, but it's a really fast grower in my tank. I'm not really sure why it grows so fast, but it's a really fast grower. Here's some type of lotus. I don't really know the name of it, but I do know that I had it before, and then it went into a dormant phase, and the bulb was just in the tank, and I didn't know if it was ever going to come back because it was dormant for quite a long while. But it came back, and it sent a lily pad up to the top, but the Congo tetras ate it. But anyways, so hopefully that doesn't disappear again for a while. This plant here, I call it carrot tops. I don't know if it's I think it's called water wisteria, and I really like it. It's a nice bushy plant. I had removed it from the tank for a long time because it sort of take over, but now I'm just keeping up with the trimming of it, and without the CO2 I like it a lot more because it tends to stay bushier, and it just looks really pretty, and it doesn't take over as fast. Here I have some Java fern, Windelov, or lacy Java fern I believe it's called, and I actually have some more of that in there, which you can't barely see it, but it's in there. And in here, as you can see, I have an Amazon sword, which I was really hoping that would get bigger, but for some reason it's staying kind of small. I think one of the reasons is I believe my plecos keep scraping the leaves, and then I have to keep breaking off the bigger leaves to keep the plant looking nice, even though you can't really see it, and you can't hardly see it. But I also have a melon sword in there, which it's the same melon sword that grew up to the top of the tank before and gave me a lot of babies. But I took it out of the tank for a while and had it in a smaller tank, and it didn't do so well. So he's small back in there, but he'll grow up again. Right here, you can see them good. That is Cryptparva, and that plant is actually the plant that came in and gave me blackbeard algae. I knew there was blackbeard algae on it, but I was new to tanks and really stupid, and so I figured, well, my tank doesn't have any algae in it, so the blackbeard algae will go away just like all the rest of the algae. And of course, anyone with blackbeard algae knows that's not true. So of course I've been fighting with blackbeard algae ever since I put that plant in. Cryptparva is a really slow grower, but it's doing pretty good. I started out with, I think, 2 plants, and now I got a little group of them there. I also have back in there 1 jungle val, and I know I don't want the jungle val to take over again. You can see a leaf of it right there. I don't want the jungle val to take over again, but I'm just going to watch it better this time, and I kind of like the look of it when it grows out across the top. I only have the 1 plant in there right now. I had to trim it today though because it was full of blackbeard algae, which is a mess. Down here I have pearlweed. As you can see, it's quite thick all the way across there. It is really taken to this tank. I don't know why, but it just really likes the conditions of this tank. And I trimmed it down last week about, and I added here, these plants here, and you can see they're starting to fill in already. So, and there's my car. And so yeah, I really like it though. I think it looks really pretty there, and it's just fills in the front there. I don't like having tall plants pressing against the front of the glass. I think that looks really messy. So this way I can have plants coming right to the front without having them cover up. And this pearlweed will get tall. It's grown to the top of the tank before. But again, I like it better without CO2. With CO2, it's another plant that gets really ratty and like really grows way too fast to be able to upkeep it properly. And when I had CO2 in the tank, I actually took it out. But now that I don't have CO2 in the tank, it's really manageable, and it actually stays quite short, and it's getting really bushy. As you can see, it really fills in. And when it does start to get taller, I can trim it and I don't have to worry about it just taking over on me like it used to. Here I have dwarf sedge, as you can see, and I really like the dwarf sedge. Dwarf sedge was another plant that I took out before. I had in the tank before, but I took it out. But I've added it back in. I've added it back in for a couple reasons. Number 1, because I want something growing in the front here. And number 2, because it's a plant that roots really well. Even if I tried to pull that plant up there that size, I would have trouble pulling it up because they get really big roots and really hold on. So I don't have to worry about it being pulled up by the plecos or the curry cats, which are hanging out over here, a few of them. So that's nice. And also having the big leaves, it doesn't grow as tight as hairgrass or the pearlweed here. So the curry cats can still get to the bottom, and I think it's important. One of my favorite things about the curry cats is watching them sift the sand through their gills, so I just want to make sure that they always have access to sand. And even though this dwarf sedge will probably eventually grow in really tight, I can just pull it out and leave them spots. And it's a super fast grower. I started out with 4 plants from another tank about 2 months ago, and now I'm up to about 30 plants. And then over here I have an anubias, which is a plant that it came from a big plant, and I trimmed the big plant down and stuck a little piece into a little hole in this driftwood, and it's growing like that. So I think it looks really pretty on that wood. And this wood here is actually 2 pieces of wood. You can probably tell pretty easily. I believe they're both, one is Malaysian, I believe, or Mopani. Actually, I'm not even sure what type of wood it is, but they both come from the pet store, so they're both hardwoods. And now for the fish, I'll start out with this guy here. I have autocats in here. I actually have 10 little autocats in here. I had 11, but as when you get them from the pet store, you don't really know how old they are, and one of them died, I believe, from old age. So I really like my Odo cats, and they're really good in a big tank like this when I have small plants, because they're one of the only algae eaters that can actually clean the small leaves, like the Blixa leaves. So that's nice. And he just disappeared. Here, as you can see, I have lots of peppered corridors all over, and I think I'm going to feed them right now, so that's why they're out. And I believe I have probably about 30 of them in here. For some reason, the peppered corridors are the one fish that can keep breeding and keep surviving. So I'm not even sure how many I have in here. Every once in a while, as you can see, there's a smaller one there. And every once in a while, I'll just see little babies swimming around in there. So, and of course my Congo tetras. I believe I have 25 Congo tetras in here now. A good mix of males and females. Unfortunately, their color's not showing up too good right now. They kind of look weird right now. The Congo tetras rule the tank. When I drop food in there, they're the first to get it and clean it up, and so it's hard. I have to make sure that every fish in here is able to compete for food and get their share of the food. I had coolie loaches in here, and I removed the coolie loaches because they couldn't compete with the cory cats and the Congos. And I had a betta fish in here, a little female betta fish, which I really liked. She got removed because she couldn't compete for food, and my bumblebee gobies got removed to their own tank because they couldn't compete for food. So I also have my cherry barbs. I have no idea how many cherry barbs I have in here. They're really pretty. I probably have about 15 at least. And my plecos, I have 4 long-finned, 3 short-finned, and 2 regular, oh, that's an albino plecos, and then 2 regular brown short-finned. And I also have, which I can't get on video, 2 Siamese algae eaters. They've taken to hiding a lot, so they're not out right now. But they're really pretty big goldfish, and I really wish they wouldn't hide so much. And I believe that's it for the fish I have in. Oh no, I have my 1 Bolivian ram, and I had 2 Bolivian rams, but my male Elvis, he went blind, and he also had to be removed to his own tank because he couldn't see to eat, and he just wasn't fast enough to compete for food. And that fish, that Bolivian ram there, is Dolly, and she's one of my favorite fish, but I think she's a little bit lonely, so I gotta get some more Bolivian rams to stick around with her. And I believe that's it for fish in my 125 gallon.